The scale dropped faster than I'd ever seen. First it was 5 pounds, then 10 pounds, 15 pounds, and then over 20 pounds. Tirzepatide felt like a miracle. But what no one really talked about and what I wasn't prepared for, it wasn't the weight loss itself, it was what came after the weight loss. My journey didn't end with just hitting the weight goal. In many ways, it was just the beginning for me. And there are 3 big things that I learned the hard way. Things I desperately wish I knew before I started my first injection. If you're considering Tirzepatide or are currently using Tirzepatide and wondering about the long game, this is for you. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Life with Alberto, where here we talk about weight loss, we talk about the gastric sleeve, and we talk about GLP-1 medication, particularly the Tirzepatide medication. And this is just my journey, the things that I have done to achieve the weight where I'm at now, and things that I continue to do to maintain my current weight. To give you a little backstory about myself, I have had a gastric sleeve in 2023. I have also struggled with weight gain after the sleeve, and I am currently using Tirzepatide on a maintenance dose. What that means is I don't use it regularly. I use it every so often, maybe once every 2 months, once every 3 months, to help maintain my weight. I have struggled with my weight for years, ever since I was a teenager in high school. This has been a decade long of roller coaster diets, gym routines, exercise, fasting, and that awful feeling of just feeling stuck. When I first got the gastric sleeve, I thought that was it for me. I thought, hey, I'm gonna get the sleeve and that's gonna be it. I'm no longer gonna struggle with the weight loss. However, after the sleeve, the weight did come back on, but not all of it. But I did get a lot of anxiety about my weight coming back on. So what my doctor recommended at that time was Tirzepatide, a GLP-1 agonist that helps with cravings and it makes you feel full longer. So when I heard about that, I was like, wait, but I already got the sleeve. Is this gonna work for me? Like, is this gonna make it? So I went ahead and tried it. And when I tried it, it worked. Like, it really did work for me. In my previous videos, you can see my weight loss journey on Tirzepatide. At that time, I was like 176 pounds and I went down to like 100 and maybe 50 pounds, something like that. I don't remember the exact numbers because my weight continues to fluctuate. So when I first started Tirzepatide, the weight just melted off me. I was like, yes, I'm finally back on track to stay at a healthy weight. And now I know I got the sleeve and now I got Tirzepatide, and both of those together are gonna work wonders for me. And it did. It worked great for me. Like, I felt like I was living the dream. But those brochures that they give you about those side effects and all the warning signs, they tell you only what pharmaceutical companies want you to know. But it doesn't prepare you for the little details, the ongoing battles after you stop the medication, the ongoing battles during the medication use. So in this video, I'm going to talk about 3 things that I wish I knew before starting my first injection. The first thing I wish I knew, biggest thing I wish I knew, was that Tirzepatide wasn't a short fix. It's more like a lifelong management tool. I think like most people, we secretly want to believe that, hey, this is it. We're going to use this medication, the weight's going to come off and it's going to stay off. Unfortunately, the reality of that is not that. The reality is that the weight often comes back on after using Tirzepatide. As a matter of fact, I did some research and there are studies out there that show that people who have been taking Tirzepatide for about 36 weeks, it showed that 14% of their body weight that they had lost, they regained that weight back. But those who stayed on the medication, they continue to lose even more weight. So this was a huge mental shift for me because I wanted to keep losing weight, but I didn't want to lose too much weight because I was already small when I got to my final dosing of 5 milligrams on Tirzepatide. When I initially started the Tirzepatide, I was 176, I believe, and I got down to 150. 150 was like a perfect weight. As a matter of fact, I think that's where I'm at now. But I didn't want to keep losing weight, so I came off the medication, and maybe like a month or 2 months later, I started to regain some of that weight back, and I started to freak out. I got anxiety, and I was like, okay, time to get back on it. So I did it for another month, and then I got down to like 145-ish, 144, and then my thoughts were like, if you want to stay on this weight, and if you want to maintain this weight, you have to keep taking the medication. But I don't want to keep taking the medication for indefinitely. I want to take it for a month, stop it for a few months, try to maintain my weight with diet and exercise. And if I increase weight, then I'll take it back. So understanding that Tirzepatide wasn't a short fix, it was more of a tool for the long term, I had to really grasp that understanding. And if I would have understood that from the beginning, I would have set some realistic expectations for myself. This means like going to the doctor regularly, getting regular checkups, and sticking to the medications as long as I needed to help me with my health. However, since I'm not able to get Zepbound from my insurance company, I have to get compounded medication. And we all know that Tirzepatide is a little bit more pricier than semaglutide. So that's another thing. Like, did I really want to spend all that money, and could I afford to keep spending all that money on compound medication? So that also like played a role in the anxiety and the fears of like having to continue being on this medication long term. It is a big financial and emotional commitment, and that's a conversation that you need to have up front. I wish I had processed that a lot sooner, not as a negative thing, but more so as part of just how this treatment works and how I can set realistic expectations in the long term. So the second thing that I wasn't prepared for was the side effects. Now, yes, your doctor is going to tell you that you're going to get nausea, constipation, dehydration, and that you're not going to want to eat as much. It's one thing reading about them and being told about them, but it's a whole different thing actually living them. So the first few weeks on Tirzepatide are extremely challenging because your body is adapting to the medication. And for me, the nausea was extremely annoying. There were days where I just would eat like 1 or 2 bites. It wasn't even big bites. It was like little bites, and that's it. Could not continue to eat anymore. And with that, I also wasn't drinking enough water, even though I know that dehydration is a side effect because you're not as thirsty. So what was happening to me, I was just not getting any nutrition. I was eating very little. My face was getting dry. My hair was getting brittle and dry as well because I wasn't consuming enough because of all the nausea that was coming with the medication. And it was super frustrating to me because I'm like, yes, I want to lose this weight, but is it worth having all this nausea and not eating to where I now look like I'm like a skeleton, almost like a skeleton walking around like thin and brittle and like dry skin? Like, was it worth it? And honestly, it was. But anyway, so yes, I was still feeling energized. Like, that wasn't a problem. Like, I continued to have my energy. I was keep going to the gym, but I was just so frustrated. I'm like, man, I wish I could eat more when I'm on the medication, because I would literally take like 1 bite. So the nausea for me was just extremely unbearable. And I would take Zepbound, which is like a nausea medication, from time to time. So I would just take Zepbound to help manage with the medication. But obviously Zepbound's a medication and it has side effects as well. So I also didn't want to keep taking that because of the side effects, right? Of constipation and whatever else comes with it. And not to mention the constipation. The constipation was probably worse than the nausea. Because the nausea, at least you can take a medication for it. But the constipation, how I would deal with the constipation is with fiber, with like that Metamucil fiber. But however, even drinking that Metamucil fiber, I would still be full from drinking just that itself. You know how it like expands in your stomach, you drink it, and then I'd be like, oh, I'm full. I don't want to eat right now. I don't want to drink anything else. Like, I can't even drink enough water to keep this fiber down. So if I wasn't taking that fiber, I was gonna be constipated. And if you get constipated with this medication or with anything, and it makes you feel very icky, it makes you feel like you don't belong in your own body, and it's just not a good feeling. Managing all of these side effects was like a trial and error for me. I had to find out what worked for me and what didn't work for me. So staying hydrated was like key for all of this. And the way that I maintained hydration was through drinking like Powerade, Gatorade, obviously the zero kinds for no sugar. And I was also trying to drink like other stuff like IV hydration, like those little packets. And I was just trying to drink as much water as I can, water that was like flavored so that I was able to enjoy it. Some days are better than others with these side effects. And then some days you just have to deal with it. Unfortunately, there's no way around it. And the higher the dose, the higher the chances of you having these side effects, or it was like that for me anyways. So the third thing that I wish I knew before starting Tirzepatide was that lifestyle changes are a must. They are recommended, and they must be a must for the long-term success and just feeling good overall. So there was a part of me, that the naive part of me, that wanted to feel or believe that after stopping the injection, that the weight would stay off, and that I didn't have to eat healthy, and that I didn't have to exercise as much, and that the weight was just gonna stay off. Obviously, that's not realistic, and it didn't happen that way because tirzepatide was no longer in my system after quitting it or after stopping it. The cravings were coming back and I was getting hungrier. I could eat more than 2 bites now. I could probably eat like a decent portion size meal. Unfortunately, being on this medication doesn't teach you to be healthy. It doesn't teach you how to exercise. And these are things that you have to modify. You know, if you're not doing those, you have to learn how to do them while you're on the medication. So when you get off it, you can continue to do them and continue to stay motivated so that you can keep the weight down. Well, that's what worked for me. I'm not sure if that's gonna work for everyone. I hope it does. And if you guys have done something else that's worked for you, please let me know in the comments. I would love to hear from you guys. So even though the food noise did get quiet, I did have time to process and think about what I'm planning to do for like exercise and what I'm supposed to be eating and how to manage that and how to prepare for that. And I'll be honest with you, I do not cook. I'm not good with meal prepping or planning. Where I work at, meals provided to us on a daily basis, and I come home and food's already cooked. So I don't have to struggle with that, but I do have to struggle on having control on what I choose to eat because these foods sometimes aren't the healthiest choice. So that is something that I'm continuously learning. And like I said, this is something that I wish I knew before starting the medication so that I wouldn't have to figure this out way later after stopping the medication and after the weight came back on. And also exercise is like a non-negotiable. You have to exercise, whether that's walking, weightlifting, dancing, running, jogging, whatever. For me, it was going to the gym 3 times a week and then 2 or 3 more days during the week going for a walk. And you know what else? This journey has taught me how much eating is really in your head because tirzepatide does help with physical hunger, but it doesn't erase those emotional eatings, those emotional triggers or that food noise that you have in your mind. And it doesn't take away all the pressure from your peers, from your family when you're together eating food. So for me, that took a lot of conscious effort. It took therapy also, and maybe a little bit of help from antidepressant medication to rebuild healthier habits with food and with my body. To me, it's more than just a number on the scale. It's about feeling good overall. So this medication is an effective tool for weight loss, but it's not a passive process. It works best when you actively participate because it does help with the cravings and the hunger. That way you can focus on other things and not have so much focus on what you're gonna eat and not have focus on like these cravings for sweets, for sugars, for sodas, for chips. And you have to take advantage of that because that time that you have with this medication is the time that you need to learn how to make these lifestyle modifications so that when you do come off the medication, you can continue these changes. So those are the 3 big things that I wish I knew before I started my first injection of tirzepatide. This journey has been very transformative and I'm grateful for it, and I'm grateful that I was able to try this medication because it does help me when I need to lose weight. It does help me because it has had a positive impact on my health and on my life, but it's also been a learning curve for me. If you're on this journey or you're thinking about getting on this journey, whether it's semaglutide or tirzepatide or Wegovy or Zepbound, I hope sharing my experience with you helps someone out there. Now remember, this is just my experience. Mine is gonna look different from yours. My choices are gonna be very different from yours. And the way that I did things and the way that I continue to do things are very different from probably yours. But I'm sharing my experience because maybe it'll help someone out there who is still trying to figure it out, who's still having that learning curve. I want to hear about your experiences. If you're comfortable sharing, please leave a comment below. What are some things that you wish you knew before starting medication? What are some of the biggest challenges that you've had on these medications? Your insight could help someone else, and it could also help me. And if you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and maybe consider subscribing for more honest conversations with me about health and wellness. So at the end of the day, tirzepatide can be an extremely powerful, positive tool for weight loss. But the key to tirzepatide and the key to weight loss is the long-term commitment. You have to be prepared for it. You have to be prepared to deal with the side effects, and you have to be patient, and you have to have some support. Please remember, I'm not a medical professional. This video just reflects my personal journey and my personal experience and understandings of these medications, particularly just the tirzepatide. I have not used semaglutide. You should always consult your healthcare provider for any medical advice, diagnosis, and treatment, and don't ignore their advice. That's it for today's video. I hope this is informational and helpful for someone out there, and I will see you guys on the next video. Peace.